Hello and welcome to Politics Now. Today we will focus on the politics of state government accountability. Now, Nigeria is Africa's largest economy. However, despite its economic dynamism, Nigeria's inefficient resource management, widespread corruption and lack of accountability have undermined the government's ability to translate this economic progress into inclusive growth and improved public services. Today on Politics Now, we focus on state government's accountability. Too many a time we focus on demanding accountability from the federal government. Tinubu this, Tinubu that, forgetting that governance steps down to the state and local government areas. Now, public accountability at the level of state governments has been viewed as the completion of some infrastructure projects, necessarily accounting for funds budgeted for capital expenditure. But is this enough? The public cannot know the actual costs, how much borrowing supports the projects, or even how much funds were misappropriated just by this metric alone. Now, the second aspect concerns the development of public accountability as integral to democratic culture. In a proper democracy, public officers are responsible for rendering accounts to the public through regular periodic audits. They also have an ethical responsibility to account for their private life expenditures as a function of their statutory incomes. In Nigeria and, of course, of Africa, most of Africa, this is not the case. Now, our talking points today on Politics Now will first look at one, the demands for accounts on 5.9 trillion naira, $4.6 billion loans obtained by states. And secondly, on the show, we'll look at examining state FAAC allocations and utilizations, and also look into the effectiveness of mechanisms to ensure accountability in state governance. Well, joining us on the show from Abuja, he couldn't make it to the studio, but he joins us virtually via Zoom, Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst. Now, Jide is also a development consultant and author. Now, let's start from the demands for the loans taken by state governments. Now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has given the Kaduna State Governor, Uba Sani, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and other 35 state governors 1 week ultimatum to provide the loan agreements and spending details of loans obtained by their states. Now, SERAP's request also included the details and locations of projects executed with the loans, which amount to 5.9 trillion and 4.6 billion. SERAP is urging the state governors and the FCT minister to widely publish copies of its request, as this will help to keep Nigerians in the know of how their state governments spend their loans, and also to ensure that with public responsibilities, public personalities are answerable to the people for the performance of their duties in the management of public funds. Now, do recall that Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State has blamed the inability of his administration to pay workers' salaries. This he made during the course of the weekend. Now, he said due to huge debts he inherited from the government of his predecessor, Nasir El-Rufai. Now, those were his reasons, but SERAP came again and said, okay, Uba Sani has to account for the loans he took. And reacting to Governor Sani, Bashir tackled the governor, saying he was looking for a cheap excuse. That's one of the sons of the governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai. And Bashir stated via his X handle on Saturday, and the Kaduna State chapter of the All Progressive Congress has also suspended its women leader, Maryam Suleiman, for alleged gross misconduct. So what's happening in Kaduna State? It still boils down to the word called accountability. Now, concerning the APC woman who was sacked in Kaduna, she was alleged to have sent thugs to attack the political advisor to the governor, and it's just a whole lot to unpack. Well, joining us on Politics Now is Jide Ojo. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Happy Easter. Enjoy the rest of your month. Stay safe and stay blessed.
Now, let's talk about accountability in the state government. Using Kaduna State as an example, Ubasani was lamenting lack of funds to pay salaries. APC women leader who criticized the government was suspended, only for Serap to beckon on Ubasani and other governors to account for the loans collected for the state. What do you make of the case of accountability in Kaduna before we speak generally on the state government?
It's not unusual to have godfather and godson falling apart. We have seen what happened in Rivers State between Nyesom Wike and Similaye Fubara. So that of Kaduna is just also brewing. And quite unfortunately, when I read the staggering sum that Rufai left behind as debt for Ubasani, you could as well know that it's a landmine for Ubasani to grapple with. We are talking of about 85 billion naira debt, over $500 million debt, and 115 contractual agreements that it needs to fulfill. So, and just yesterday, it came out that Kaduna State Governor Obasani is among the 13 new governors that have borrowed cumulatively 226 billion. It's because many of them met empty treasury. When you have 85 billion naira debt and over $500 million debt as well, and that is as at December 2023. The debt profile may have increased. So the bottom line is that what are the options available to Obasani beyond just going to borrow more? At least he needs to pay workers' salary. And that's why many workers are expressing doubts that whatever minimum wage is agreed to by the tripartite committee currently discussing the new minimum wage may not be may not be bound on them because they may not be able to pay. We are talking of 30,000 minimum wage, and over 20 states are not paying. So if you now raise the minimum wage to 80,000 naira or 100,000 naira, you can be rest assured that more than half of the states will not be able to pay, because that's what Vasani is already talking about.
Now, from your analysis, are you inferring that Governor Ubasani is not trying to strain his relationship with Governor El Rufai? And is there more to this developing feud between his predecessor?
Well, he has to come out to tell the people of Kaduna State the kind of challenge he's facing. Everybody saw El Rufai as the man with the magic wand. And you know, it's over this indebtedness that he filed apart with Shehu Sani and other two senators that were there, because they kicked against the federal government approval of this debt for Kaduna State. And he called them the enemy of the state. And that's why, he went for Vasani, supported him to be the senator between 2019 and 2023, and now supported him to be a successor. And we can see the strain. The women leader for Kaduna State that was allegedly criticizing Ubasani, perhaps it's one of the key loyalists of El Rufai. And El Rufai's son, I don't know whether he has a stake or he is of someone with the political clout to be able to criticize the government. We've also had El Rufai himself meeting with the opposition, SDP leadership, and some other leader in the opposition camp. which is fueling speculation that he may want to defect. But whether he defects or he doesn't, you could say that the Senate kicked against his appointment as Minister of the Federal Republic and was asked to nominate somebody in his stead, which is why he nominated the Minister of Environment now. So it's all part of the politics and politics of Kaduna State. And we are going to see many more of that across several states. It's not just in Kaduna or in Rivers, because no matter how much you want your successor to keep your secrets, when the people are disenchanted with this administration, it's bound to speak out and tell the people the challenges facing in government. Unfortunately for Ubasani, he is also facing multiple challenges of security. You can see the number of abductions that have taken place in Kaduna in less than 1 year that he has taken over. And no government what is sought will have that kind of insecure environment and think anybody will want to come and invest in that kind of state.
Now, let's talk about the demands for accounts on 5.9 trillion naira, $5.6 billion loans obtained by states. What do you make of this coming from SERAP? It's very rare to see, people constantly come up to government and say, you've got to do this. We've seen SERAP taking government to court several times, but how effective has this been? And, just help us make sense of this loan, especially that SERAP wants government to give account of.
The truth that has to be said is that oftentimes, as analysts and public commentator, we tend to gaslight and focus and, we focus more on the federal government as if it's the only tier of government that draws allocations from the FAAC. 48% of revenue that comes into the FAAC goes to the federal government, but 52% goes to the state and local government. And it is quite in order for Socioeconomic Rights Accountability Center, better known as SERAP, to demand accountability of how the funds that have accrued to the state government have been spent. Yes, we're not losing sight of the federal government. We must also demand accountability on the part of the state. There have been several allegations of corrupt practices, sharp practices in several states in terms of contract inflation, in terms of embezzlement of public funds, in terms of lack of accountability and transparency. And we need organizations like SERAP and similar civil society organizations to be the mouthpiece of the masses to demand for this accountability. But whether these governors and local government area council chairmen will oblige SERAP what they are demanding for is secondary. And what I foresee is that SERAP will likely drag them to court. Look at the very unwholesome practice many state governments are doing, where about 27 of them passed law by their state houses of assembly to give what is called life pension to governors and their deputies. Some states even take it to a ridiculous level of including the speaker and deputy speaker of the state house of assembly for working for the people supposedly for 8 years. You are going to be earning life pension. The Lagos State pension law is very amazing. 6 vehicles to be changed every 4 years, stewards, domestic staff. Then, if the former governor is sick, his health will be taken care of by this.
Okay, now, what do you make of the fact that the State Assembly lawmakers allowed this to go through without major opposition in stopping most especially ex-governors from being on pensions, just like you've mentioned that these governments, you know, will connive with some of the key people in the Assembly, whether it's the Speaker of the Assembly, to ensure that the process of accountability in governance doesn't really come to light? Can you help us make sense of this situation?
It will have been understandable. You need to go and read the life pension law of Akwa Ibom, of Lagos, of Delta, of many states. In fact, that's why Obasanjo last week commended Governor Alex Otti of Abia State for scrapping this life pension for governor. I don't know whether you read it, Mena.
Yeah, I did. I heard about it. And to me, it seems as if it was more of a vengeful move against his predecessor. But what do you make of this?
The way to go for all the governors. So look at Kaduna State now. The governor is saying that he has no money to pay salaries. But I need to fact check whether Kaduna State also have life pension for governors. Because I recall that the first state that stirred the hornet's nest about this life pension thing was Zamfara. When former Governor Abdulaziz Yari wrote his successor to say that his life pension of 100 million naira a month has not been paid for some months. And Zamfara is one of the poorest states in Nigeria. Zamfara has been plagued as at that time, up till now, with insecurity. And yet, one individual is making 100 million naira for being governor for 8 years. Why am I bringing this issue of life pension? There is no governor that I know of in Nigeria of today who will be a two-time governor that will not be a billionaire. Why? Because the billions they collect in security votes are never accounted for. That is outside of influence peddling. The kickbacks that many of them received for awarding contracts to certain companies, to certain individuals and all of that. So why must you still be indulging them? And these are governors who are successful businessmen. These are governors who possibly were retired permanent secretaries. These are governors who were professionals in their early life. Look at someone like Rotimi Akeredolu, was already a senior advocate of Nigeria. For many years, was former president of Nigeria Bar Association. You want to tell me that that kind of person was looking for daily bread before joining politics or before becoming governor? Look at my governor in Oyo State that declared his 46 billion as his asset way back in 2019. That is what it's worth. Now, you want to be paying that kind of person who is a billionaire, you want to still be paying him pension for life. By the way, Governor Seyi Makinde is just 56 years. So God's planning his life. If he lives to be 100, by 2027, when he finishes his second term, and he will still be under 60 years of age or about 60 years of age, that means the state will still be paying him life pension for 30, 40 years if God spares his life and gives him longevity. This is somebody who is already a billionaire. Look at our president, President Bola Tinubu, who is a billionaire. It's a business octopus, two-time governor, former senator. Yet, is still liable to benefit under the Lagos State pension law.
Talk to you about honesty from these governors, because if you are not an honest person, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to give account. The question is, why is it difficult for these governors, to be honest? Most especially those of them who seen money before they came into power. Like you made mention of President Bola Tinubu, who has been a senator, he's been 2 times governor. Even with the backlog of wealth, they still want to be on pensions and outrageous benefits that also come with it. And you look at a situation like America, someone like Trump who ran before and then he said he wasn't going to receive any salary. When are we going to be able to see leaders in Nigeria? I'm aware that the governor of Anambra State, Governor Soludo, is not on salary. But does it really make any difference? Just help us make sense of this.
Don't let anybody deceive you. I don't know. There was a clip I shared on my wall last week. An American TV host asked his guest, which work pays the highest salary in the world? And the guest answered, he said, politician. And the guy corrected her. He said, politicians are not the highest paid worker anywhere in the world, but they steal more for themselves globally. I'm paraphrasing. So when somebody tells you as a campaign strategy, I'm not going to collect salary, how much is their salary? I recall a spat between El-Rufai and Dogara when Dogara was House of Rep Speaker and El-Rufai was governor in Kaduna. And there was this altercation about, I think it was El-Rufai that first said, National Assembly members are not doing anything and they are collecting millions in salary. And Dogara responded and said, governors are not doing anything and they collected billions in salary. And the whole altercation went on. And he published his own salary and that Dogara to publish his own salary. And when El-Rufai published his own salary, did you know that El-Rufai's salary was less than 1 million? It was 700 plus thousand, and minus tax comes down to about 555,000 naira. Now, ask yourself whether it is to collect 555,000 naira that you will kill, you will maim, you will destroy to become governor. Of course not. So when they say, for instance, Soludo, governor of Anambra State, said he's not collecting salary. But what is salary? As CBN governor, Soludo was earning far higher than what a state governor has as a CBN governor. So a governor that said I will not have salary is just like forfeiting like a tithe of what comes to him every month, because this same governor will go on foreign trips. What he gets as extra code in 1 week of foreign trips is more than his salary. This same governor will award. Let me give you a practical example. Lagos State budget is 2.2 trillion for 2024. 2.2 trillion. Now, a component of that is what we call capital expenditure. And that's where your contract, projects, and all of that. Just imagine if somebody somewhere is lobbying to be the preferred candidate to be chosen for a 10 billion naira project. Will he not be willing to spare $500 million to curry favor from the governor? And that's the kind of influence peddling many of them live on. This is just like, okay, they want to do their daughter's wedding. They want to have their daughter's wedding. They won't know how 50 cows will get to their house. They won't know who has paid for the hall. the biggest oil, they will not know, because government contractors will tax themselves to give him a befitting wedding for his daughter, or burial for his father or for his mother, because he's in power. So those kind of influences is more than receiving maybe 1 million or whatever per month. A salary is just like a tiny portion of access to wealth of a political office holder. What some people have as an imprest, their imprest alone is more than their salary. Look at the so-called security vote. A governor that has 2 billion naira in security votes, and he doesn't have to account for it, and he has that, let's even say annually, he has 2 billion naira annually, not monthly, as security votes. Now, multiply 1 million as salary for 2 years, for 1 year would be 1.2 billion. Now he forfeits that, but he's getting 2 billion naira as security votes, and he does not have to account for it. Which one is bigger? He just buys about 20 lost vehicles for the Nigerian police, and that would be it. He will say he has settled, he has spent so much on enhancing security in the state. Some will tell you that they have organized imams and pastors to come and pray for peace in their state, and they have spent 1.5 billion. Just imagine that reckless spending. So avenue to make money as a political office holder, whether as a minister, as a governor, is huge. That's why you will see somebody who will resign as a senator to go and pick up appointment as a minister. He knows that as a senator, he's under minimum wage. But as a minister, he controls the ministry's budget. So if you are a minister of works that has like 500 billion as budget, and look at the number of contractors that will be trooping your office and your house every day to seek favor to get that contract, and all manner of inducement that they will be dangling. So that is how politicians make their money.
Now, quite the analysis there, Jide. Now, do recall that it was reported that the House of Reps members rescinded the decision to probe the utilization of 6.57 trillion naira FAAC allocation to states in 2023. And the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee last month announced the distribution of 1.15 trillion naira in revenue to the 3 tiers of government in February 2024, making a 20 billion naira increase, 1.77% from the 1.13 trillion naira allocated back in January 2024. Now, the resolution followed the adoption of a motion brought on the matters of urgent public importance, moved by the member representing Shomolu Federal Constituency in Lagos State, Ademori Kuye, at the plenary session. Now, this is what happened. In that motion, he noted that the amount shared by the 3 tiers of governments from the FAAC has increased significantly. We're talking about, I think, 23 to 26%. That's the increment owing to the removal of fuel subsidy. Of course, you recall that President Tinubu said that a lot of trillions has been saved from fuel subsidy. And of course, the decision to float the Naira and other economic policies introduced by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration. Still talking about state government accountability. Like you said, we always talk about the federal government, but it's time to talk about the state's government too. What is being done with these FAAC allocations? There's been lots of increase. Yes, we know that government has been working in terms of palliatives to ensure that Nigerians are able to weather the storm during the course of this no presence of fuel subsidy. But how do we make sense, of these monies that has increased just from 2023 to 2024, and yet for most of Nigerians, they can't really feel the impact of these allocations? What is going on, Jide?
My brother, if I should tell you the truth, it's not like the governors are not talking, but people don't believe them. There's a high level of trust deficit in this country, and justifiably so. I must say, justifiably so. High level of distrust because the government that is telling you that there is empty treasury, that is not having money, is keeping a convoy of about 20 vehicles. So he wants to go and commission a borehole in one part of the town. They shut down the entire road to allow the governor's entourage. What is the business of all the commissioners attending commissioning of a road by a governor? The person, 90% of those who attend such commissioning does not have any business being there. Is that the way it's done abroad? You want to do groundbreaking, you want to do flag off, the entire state cabinet must be there. And that is why people don't believe that there is no money. And so the governors themselves, perception is as good as reality. So a governor that is telling you that there is no money, look at it, the money we are getting little, then he is living large, is practically living in Abuja and governing his state by telephone. So how will people believe that there is no money?
All right, Jide, but are the governors not talking enough? Because to some people, they might say, okay, you're giving credence to the governors and you don't really care about how we feel. What is being spent? There is just too much secrecy that's making citizens of the state not to get a hang of the reality of the allocations, which is not being enough to attend to the state welfare, just as you have said, because of inflation and the rate of naira to the dollar. I mean, things you would have probably bought maybe last year, some of those things have doubled. And the same thing goes to government expenditure for most of the projects that they carry out within the state. What do you think, because most Nigerians won't see it the way as you have presented it?
My brother, if I should tell you the truth, it's not like the governors are not talking, but people don't believe them. There's a high level of trust deficit in this country. And justifiably so. I must say, justifiably so, high level of distrust, because the government that is telling you that there is empty treasury, that is not having money, is keeping a convoy of about 20 vehicles. So he wants to go and commission a borehole in one part of the town. They shut down the entire road to allow the governor's entourage. What is the business of all the commissioners attending commissioning of a road by a governor? The person, 90% of those who attend such commissioning does not have any business being there. Is that the way it's done abroad? You want to do groundbreaking, you want to do flag off, the entire state cabinet must be there. And that is why people don't believe that there is no money. And so the governors themselves, perception is as good as reality. So a governor that is telling you that there is no money, look at it, the money we are getting little, then he is living large, is practically living in Abuja and governing his state by telephone. So how will people believe that there is no money? He has refused to reduce his aides. He has, in fact, appointed more aides.
Just to add to what you said, Jide, it's going to be difficult for people to actually believe that there is no money or the money is not enough, just like what Ubesani in Kaduna is talking about. But let's talk about the effectiveness of mechanisms to ensure accountability in state governance. Now, past governance have put in a few measures to provide transparency in revenue allocation. Now, let's take a look at our former Finance Minister, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who introduced the publication of the details of monthly allocations to states. This practice of publishing the FAAC revenue distribution details to the 3 tiers of government has been sustained by subsequent administrations, but many extrapolated that these states and local government areas will already be publishing the details of all that they receive monthly and their expenditure profiles by now. But that's not the case. Now, the second point I want to make is that you look at the measures implemented by the last administration, talking about President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. The government brought in this system to harmonize revenue and payment system, talking about the TSA, the Treasury Single Account. And not all states operate with a whole bouquet of the Treasury Single Account, meaning that others are averse to financial accounting reforms. Now, there are measures to ensure that state governors are actually accountable to the citizens of the state. But are they effective? That's the question I'm posing to you, Jide.
Laws are very clear. We have a lot of anti-corruption laws now. For instance, we have these three new laws. Beneficiary ownership law that was signed into law under Buhari. There is this anti-money laundering law. There is which other? There are quite a number of anti-corruption laws that applies across board, and that's why our anti-corruption agencies needs to be proactive. They should not be acting like a fire brigade. You know, our fire brigade institution, they only will come around when there is fire incident. To prevent that fire, they don't see the need to conduct education, prevention, and all of that. So we need to take ownership of this country. The media, the civil society organizations, the anti-corruption agencies, we need to be more proactive. For instance, you were talking about Okonjo-Iweala's during Okonjo-Iweala's tenure. There was monthly publication of how much each state and local government has from federation account every month. That seems to have stopped. So you don't then know how much your governor has earned and then how to hold him accountable for it. We have also spoken to issues around this security vote that is a recipe for corruption. Why can't we ask for audited report on the security vote? Why must it not be accounted for? That is why governors, in fact, I was shocked, and I quoted this on AIT just last week on a live program, that in 2019, Ibrahim Magu, when he was the chairman of EFCC, said he had it on good authority that some governors will go and foment trouble. They will go and orchestrate insecurity in their state in order to justify the collection of the security vote. It is that bad. So eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. The laws are there. We must call for the implementation of the laws. We must call for institution of anti-corruption, from the Code of Conduct Bureau to EFCC to ICPC, to those state institutions that are also in charge of anti-corruption, including but not limited to Office of State Accountant General and Auditor General, as well as the Federal Office of Federal Accountant General and Auditor General. They all have a role to play in anti-corruption. So unless and until when we are able to.
All right, Jide Ojo there, public affairs analyst, development expert, and author, talking to us about state government accountability that is needful in our nation today. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show, Mr. Jide, and of course, happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter. Enjoy the rest of your month. Stay safe and stay blessed.
All right, you're still on to politics now. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll give you some updates on the Senegal presidential election that has concluded and is leading to the inauguration of Faye as president of Senegal. Stay with us. All right, glad to have you back on Politics Now. Of course, we have been following all the development that led to the the Senegal presidential election, from the initial crisis to the elections proper, to the release of FAAC, who is now our president. And I love the spin that media are actually giving it, from prison to the presidency. Well, all is set for the inauguration of Bassirou Diomaye Faye as president. The inauguration is expected to take place on the 2nd of April. Senegal's Constitutional Council confirmed his election victory. The top court validated provisional results announced on Wednesday based on vote tallies from 100% of polling stations. Faye, an anti-establishment candidate and an ally of popular opposition figure Ousmane Sonko, won more than 54% of votes cast in last Sunday's delayed presidential poll. His closest competitor in the polls, ruling coalition candidate Amadou Ba, who was handpicked by outgoing President Macky Sall, took about 35% of the vote. The council said no objections had been raised by the other contenders at age 44, and Faye becomes Africa's youngest president. Of course, the African Union hailed the unanimous acceptance of the results. French President Emmanuel Macron also offered Faye warm congratulations and said France wanted to continue and intensify the partnership between their countries. Now, Faye's victory came just 10 days after he was freed from prison. He said he wants a break with the current political system that is in the country. Now, Bassirou Diomaye Faye has made it clear about his hopes to turn the page to reconcile hearts in his first public appearance since his main rival Amadou conceded defeat. Let's have a listen to what he said. This election took place in the backdrop of a pre-electoral crisis that cost lives, injured many, and led to the imprisonment of many patriots. We intend to turn this page to reconcile hearts, to reconcile the Senegalese people, and work tirelessly to remember and realize the hopes raised by my election and the project I am carrying forward. I salute the stance of President Sall, whose vigilance and commitment made it possible to guarantee a free, democratic, and transparent election, ensuring a result recognized by all the protagonists, while I recognize the pain and suffering of recent years, the lives lost that have been shattered, and those that have been lost. I would like to salute our people's attachment to democracy, justice, and equality. Now, meanwhile, on the 1st of April, Easter Monday, and Nigerian Governors, the special advisor to President Tinubu on media and publicity, in a statement in Abuja, made it known that President Bola Tinubu will depart Abuja on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, for Dakar, Senegal, to attend the inauguration of Senegal's president-elect Bassirou Diomaye Faye. And according to the statement, the president's trip is on the invitation of the Republic of Senegal. President Tinubu is the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government and will join other regional leaders to witness the inauguration at the Diamadio Exhibition Center on Tuesday. The president will be accompanied on the trip by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tugar, and other senior officials. Well, that's our show for today on Politics Now. Many thanks for watching, and special thanks to Jide, I guess, who took time out of the public holiday to speak with us right here on the show. Happy Easter to you from LN24/7. Once again, my name is Morno Balagbogo. Stay right here on LN24/7.